Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I'm here today and we're going to create a cover die stencil. Now this is part of the release for Altenew in August 2017, so there will be prizes to win, so head to my blog, it's linked in the description below. So what I've got here is actually a product from Express It, and they're called stencil sheets, and I'm going to create my own stencil with the cover die. It's as simple as that. This is a thicker than normal product, so I did run it through my machine a few times, and then I actually grabbed my metal shim and it didn't look like it was cutting on the backing paper, but once I took it out it actually was cutting it, and I'm glad that it did because I really like this as a stencil, and I'm hoping that it actually comes out as a stencil. This die is amazing. So now I'm not going to make you sit through all of this, but my die plates are warped and the center of my die didn't cut very well, and this is how you can get around that. I'm just using my craft knife to help eke it out, and it worked fine. Actually the edges cut perfectly. So now that that's all done, this is actually sticky backed, this stencil sheet, so it works really well. You know that you can actually make your own stencils sticky backed, and you can either use a spray adhesive or the Tombow Mono Multi glue, which is actually a repositionable glue as well. So you can actually do that with all of your stencils, and it's a really good trick to do that. Alright, so I'm wanting to do a multi-coloured stencil embossed paste panel, and I'm using some of the ink sprays from Altenew. And I did start with the frayed leaf, and I probably should have left it at the frayed leaf, but it just wasn't looking dark enough to me, and I knew it was going to dry that little bit lighter. So I did actually come in with the Forest Glades. Initially I started with post-it notes and masking off portions of the leaves, but I gave up on that idea and ended up just adding the embossing paste in the colours as I created them, and I figured if they mix a little bit then so be it. It's not the end of the world because they all look really pretty together. Another option would be to add one colour, wait for it to dry, then add the second colour, but I'm too impatient for that. I always make up too much embossing paste. I don't know if you're the same, but I always make up way too much. So here I am making up probably not enough. I'll make it work though. The second colour I used was the Frosty Pink. It turned out nice and bright. And I am sort of trying to space the colours apart from each other on the stencil. So my final colour is actually Sea Glass. It's one of the lighter blues. It's a really pretty colour. I'd like to see all of it done in the blue, be nice too. So here, time for the big reveal. And this actually peeled off really easy and cleaned up really easy as well. I just wiped it over with a baby wipe. I'm going to set that aside to dry. So while that's happening, I'm going to work on, now I did stamp this out a couple of times because I wasn't sure how many flowers I needed. I'm using the new permanent ink, the permanent jet black ink from Altenew, which is alcohol marker friendly. And this flower's called More Than Words. No, it's not. It's called You Make Me Happy, and it's an older stamp from Altenew. And I'm using the artist markers to add my colour, and they're really pretty, and I know that the colours are going to match because they're the same colours that I used in the base of my card. Oh, I forgot to mention that the base of my card I did actually use a Bristol smooth cardstock, and because it's a nice bright white, still not as bright white as my own cardstock, and you can't tell in normal daylight, but photos do make it look sometimes just that little bit different, like a little bit more yellow, but it's actually not more yellow. Now I'm babbling. So some simple blending, and I kept the flower in the blues and then fussy cut it out. It's a really pretty flower, this one. So now I'm going to add my sentiment, and it comes from this new set. This is called More Than Words. It has some great sentiments. Really good for scrapbooking, but great for card making too. The fonts in this set are beautiful. And I'm using the same ink. This ink stamps as well as all the other Altenew inks just beautifully. I think I'm using that word a lot today. So now it's time to put my card together. I've created a card base that's exactly the same size as the panel. I've cut the panel down now that it's all dry, and I did leave that white border, which is actually kind of part of the cover die. And then I can just adhere that to the front of my top fold card. I did decide to pop up my sentiment, and I've used some fun foam, and then because I've got the texture paste in the background, I thought it might be just a bit safer to add some liquid adhesive to make sure that it's going to hold. And I know this isn't right when it comes to the rule of thirds, but it just felt right on this card. So basically I put the sentiment and the flower in the middle of the card. I'd never normally do that. And that's pretty much my finished card for today, except I did add some Nouveau jewel drops to the center of the flower stamens. So don't forget to head over to my blog, and you can link to all the hop along the way. There's going to be heaps of amazing stuff to see as usual on the Altenew hops. They're always such a blast. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.